Hello my brothers, I hope you're all well. I have addressed traditionalism yesterday, and I also produced a long video today about the social and physical inequalities of females. Now it's time for a second video because I'm all about sitting down and trying to come up with solutions. Turd-flinging Monkey made a video about his theoretical traditionalism cycle. In that video he said he could not come up with solutions on how to get out of the cycle and how we can potentially escape that aspect repeating itself. Here I will lay down my thoughts about this issue. I have produced a video on traditionalism addressing Stardust and Karen's chat, link again in the description below. Now I want to produce a video addressing Turd-flinging Monkey's video. Since he named me in that video, I want to thank him publicly for the shout out and for his ongoing support on this channel. I'm not going to cover in detail what Turd-flinging Monkey said in his video, and I will assume that you guys have watched it. If not, go and check it out and come back after you've watched it. The link for that video is of course found in the description below. I will address this issue head on, as I do think that traditionalism is an unworkable system and a system that is unfavorable with today's society of men. Since the laws are so unfavorable for the individual and so in favor of the feminine, it goes without question that engaging in a traditionalist relationship or even cohabitating is a social suicide, something that I believe most of MGTOWs will agree on. Since that is the case and there is nothing to differentiate one sex from the other in terms of power, finances and intellectualism, then we have to assume that a man and a woman are equal in such a setting. Since the laws are unfavorable for men, the man, though theoretically equal, becomes unequal in the concept of a relationship of any sorts. There is always a risk involved in these relationships, and of course the risk is not worth taking. Now, we wanted a solution, and we continue on this premise that the Turd-flinging Monkey's theory stands to the test of time. The cycle will repeat itself and go on untested until the end of time, until the end of civilization, until eventually the death of humanity itself. However, I have to disagree with this. I believe, as always, history moves forward, and although it has the tendency of repeating itself, there is an overall aspect that we forget, is that history always moves forward and there's always differences in who play the dictator roles and who play the main roles in these parts of history. There's always aspects in history that make the differences, and although we're equally as violent as ever now, there hasn't been a major war with the amount of lives lost, let's say, as in World War II, and I believe we're in a worse state now than things were before. It's not that we have learned from history as such, but now we will all kill each other if we were to engage in such a war again. There will be no winners, and the calculation is fairly simple in order to do that. So we engage in economical warfare rather than doing, the simple thing of just going out and killing each other. So if we assume that the cycle may not be a cycle, but rather than a straight line that's moving forward just like history is, then we have to theorize what is the next step in our evolution. If the laws are to remain as they are, and everyone can assume that they will be, for the protection of their children of course, then we have to assume that the generation of men now will take steps to protect themselves, at least for one of the two problems. Child support may be manageable, you see, but child and wife support will not be. So there's a quick calculation to be made here. I propose the following. The change is already here and is already taking place. Men are already moving away from the traditionalist relationship and are choosing to engage in sexual and emotional activities with women outside of the cohabitating, let's say, relationship. The men do this because they prefer their freedom. This freedom will help them stay away in terms of accusations and also with the risk towards their lives. You see, what the system did not calculate when they created these laws that protect predominantly women is that once enough people are seen to be suffering under these law systems, self-preservation will take place over your instincts to procreate. I predict that men will not cohabit with women in mass in the future. Children will be a lot less in numbers and will be carefully calculated to be at a level that a man can financially support. This will push down our numbers and will put extreme pressures on supplying for the older generations with regards to pensions and overall support. Children will be brought up in separate households with perhaps the woman or the man taking care of the child with the input of the other parent, either during weekends or again throughout everyday interactions, without of course the cohabitation under the same roof paradigm. I believe reproduction rights for both men and women will be exercised in a calculating manner. Men will no longer freely share their sperm. Men will choose who they want to reproduce with in the same manner that women will as well. kind of like an online system where friends may choose to reproduce together. In addition, sexual gratification will be taken completely separately and will be freely available to anyone. What I mean by that is that anyone may go out and find the partner that they just want to have sex with. Of course, that will need to be timed with male contraceptive pill arrival or something of the sort so that men take control of their own reproduction as well. There will be two systems at play here. One, the family system of two people who do not live together but help each other in order to produce their offspring and satisfy their biological imperative in order to produce children. And also a separate system where men and women equally are allowed to fuck whoever they want to in order to further entertain their sexual and heroin effect urges. I know this system sounds like an unworkable system, but I believe it's the only system that will allow for any workable life in the future. It is a system that I might be willing to adopt, friend of course willing. Reproduction will be with people that you know who can support the family in a nice 50-50 arrangement, and of course your sexual needs will be satisfied outside of that traditional narrative. This will be pushed on women by men who will refuse to engage in any of other sort of activities with them otherwise. This definitely sounds like science fiction, but I believe we're already there, and it already started happening, especially with the MGTOW movement. Let's see how things progress and whether I am right or turd-flinging monkey is right here about our predictions. This was a very short video. Thank you again for listening. This was Nico Chosky talking about all things man.